I have a formal complaint against everybody who says that climate change isn't happening, because tell me why February was warm and in the 70s and March is cold. What is happening? Welcome back to yet another sewing video. Hopefully you aren't bored. On today's sewing episode, we're going a little bit crazy, a little bit different. I'm trying to figure out where I can buy fabric because Joann is closing and all of my crafting supplies I get from Joann, because I live in a small town that randomly has a Joann, and there is not another craft store for another 2 to 3 hours, depending in which direction you go. So the fact that Joann is closing is great. It's literally so good, and I'm not stressed at all. It's fine. Anyways, I went to the thrift store to try to find some fabric, and I found quite a cute quilt. I feel like this quilt would be the perfect jacket. It's heavy. We're gonna be using this pattern with this quilt, and we're gonna make it super heckin' cute. So let's start by cutting out the pattern. We've now officially reached the point of the night that I'm a little bit scared of, and that is turning the quilt into actual fabric. So what we're gonna do is I'm gonna take my sewing scissors and I'm gonna start at a corner that does not have trim. This corner! And I'm literally just going to make a little snip. And then we're gonna make the hole a little bit bigger. And now we're gonna do a little test. If this is a natural fiber fabric, it should just go straight along and it shouldn't be an issue at all, but we're gonna find out. As if I can rip it, this project will go so much faster. It seems to be ripping straight. The seam just ripped open. So I'm not gonna just rip along the seam. Okay. Covered in slipping. Oh, dang. Davey, explain what's happening.
Because this is a quilt, but not a handmade quilt, they still wanted it to look like a quilt, so every, foot and a half, they decided that they should add these little, stitched buttons.
They're called quilting stitches, honey.
Yeah, exactly.
That's how you make a quilt.
Yeah, maybe.
Can you show them what a finished one looks like?
Good little quilting stitch that holds the two ends and all of the padding in. And if you flip it, it's just a little stitch going straight through the padding all the way through down to the other side. So we're just taking seam rippers.
Point is that I found these little guys and I said, maybe this is a sign from the universe to stop. And so now Davey's doing it. So I love sewing. It is one of my favorite hobbies of all time. However, I absolutely despise cutting out fabric. Mostly because I have to do it on the ground and it hurts my back. And I know that in 10 years, I will not be able to cut out fabric on the ground. And so if anybody has any sewing table recommendations, that would be huge. I'm debating on just making my own at this point because I know that I'm going to need one, but I want one that is tall enough for me to stand at it comfortably and not hurt my back. So if you have any recommendations, please share them down below. Last night, I fully was like, well, I'll probably get things cut out and we'll at least get that far in the sewing process. And we did not. Instead, I spent several hours seam ripping the little quilted circles on the quilt, which is fine. But it does mean that I'm now a little bit more behind schedule than I was hoping to get. But we're just going to keep moving and it's going to be fine. And that means today we're going to start out by cutting out the pattern pieces onto actual fabric. Let me show you what the quilt looks like right now. Here is the current fabric. It's like a regular thickness. Like it's still pretty thick fabric, but it's significantly thinner than a finished quilt. And then we have got the back as the liner. The back definitely suffered more damages than the front. You can see the outline of where the quilting stitch was. So I'm gonna see if I can avoid that to the best of my ability. But I mean, obviously it's gonna be impossible to completely avoid, but we're gonna do our best. You're so cute. Plans have actually changed. So I cut out the first part of the quilt and then I got bored with the color brown. Not great because this whole coat's supposed to be brown. So we're gonna spice it up by changing the lining fabric. Because originally it was supposed to be the bottom side of the quilt, but like I said, it's pretty damaged. And I definitely think I can cut it up into scraps and use it like for a patchwork thing later. But for the jacket, remember this fabric? The one that I made that one pinafore out of, we still have tons of it left. So I think we're gonna use it as the liner instead. It's also a little bit thicker, so it'll be warmer. So I think overall it's a complete win-win. But we need to cut some more pieces out of the lining fabric and then we need to cut out the interfacing. And I am rapidly losing steam because I freaking hate having to cut things out of fabric. And let's get going. We did it. We got done. I'm so tired. Okay, it's gonna be fine. It's gonna be fine because we're gonna have a coat. And I'm excited for this coat. I don't know how long that took, but the answer is too long. But we did it. It's over with. And now we actually get to do the fun stuff. First up is sewing on the pockets. Because I'm doing an outer fabric and a lining fabric, I need to sew on the pockets now before I start attaching them to anything, just so it'll keep it simple and make it easy. I really don't think this jacket's overly complicated. I think it said for confident beginners. I hesitate to say I'm not a beginner because I took so long off of sewing, but I hesitate to say I'm a beginner because I've been doing it for years. How about I am an intermediate person, like intermediate in knowledge, who makes mediocre quality. But I think I fall under the umbrella of confident beginner. I'm gonna need everybody to be so freaking proud of me, okay? I am actually measuring where the pockets are gonna go on the front bodice. It says 2.5 inches in, 2.5 inches in. This isn't wet measured yet, but this is, I'm laying it out. I'm gonna measure it. It's gonna be super nice and neat. And then what you're gonna do is you're gonna just do another top stitch following this line that I've already sewn. Leave this guy open and then stitch all the way around. Minus this one edge to stick your hand in. Now we're going to take these two pieces and set them aside for now and start working on the back bodice. So for the back bodice, we have this one piece, which is the yoke of the fabric, and we are going to put it upside down, right side facing up. And we're going to match the bottom of the yoke to the top of the bodice. I hope that makes any form of sense. We're going to go ahead and pin this, and then we're just going to stitch right along here. Where's the pins? I do have to make the coat basically twice because I'm making the outer layer and the lining layer. And I think the easiest way for me to do that is to just make them at the same time. So like I'm gonna do this for the outer fabric and then I'll go ahead and do it again for the liner. That way I can just keep things straight and they'll be done at the same time, and then I can just stick them in together and call it a day. Okay, so next up we're going to be taking the back of the coat and the front of the coat and sewing it together at the shoulders and the side seams. So for this part, you just want to make sure that the right sides are together and you line up all seams as best as you can. And I typically start with the shoulders and then I do the sides. But I like to pin all of it now just to make sure that it's going to lay right. Alrighty, we are officially at the point where we are adding the sleeves to the coat. The coat is laying inside out because you can see the raw edge. You take the sleeve that is right side out and you tuck it into the coat through the armhole. So that way the right sides of the coat are together, and you just make sure that you match up the seams and the notches, and then you pin it and then you sew it like that. Okay, we are officially at the part of the coat where we need to put the lining and the main part of the coat together. Do you want to go outside? So the easiest way for me to do that, I think, is to just put on both coats and line them up. Because we want wrong sides of the coat together, we're gonna flip this guy inside out, put it on, and then we're gonna take the other coat and put it on like normal. Can I find the other sleeve? Yes. This is the correct side that's supposed to be out for the lining. This is the correct side that's supposed to be out for the outer. The pattern we recommended pinning it in certain areas just to kind of hold the edges together. And to be honest, I don't care to. The more I get done tonight, the less I have to do tomorrow. However, it's 9 o'clock and I want to be done. So for tonight, I think what I'm going to do is I'm going to start prepping the other pieces. I'm going to put all the interfacing onto the main pieces, and then I'm going to, I know that the facing is in 2 pieces and it needs to get stitched into 1. And then I think that's where I'm going to call it tonight. So I will go ahead and just iron things on basically, and I will see you in the morning. Hey guys, welcome to day 3 of working on this coat. The time is currently 9:24 p.m. because I was working all day, and now I am ready to start sewing at 9:30 at night. And even worse, I'm determined to get it done today. So I don't know how long we're gonna be here, but I'm gonna get it done. I did a little bit off camera. Let me catch you up on what I've done. First up, we have the collar. So I went ahead and ironed on the interfacing and then sewed along the 3 edges, leaving this bottom empty, so that way it can be flipped right side out. So at this point for the collar, we just need to trim the corners so that we can get the nice firm edge and then flip it. So that's where we're at the collar. And then for the facing of the coat, that was originally in 3 pieces. I went ahead and stitched them all into 1. So this middle piece just had to attach the 2 long pieces. I don't own a serger, and so I just zigzag stitch only on one side. And I'm hoping that that's gonna be fine. And then the waistband. So I just put on the interfacing and then I zigzagged one of the ends. One other thing though is that I did in fact run out of brown thread. And it's 9:30 at night, so it's not like I can go anywhere to get thread. So all this is to say that I'm living life dangerously, and we're gonna be rocking with green thread and see how that goes. I know I need to like top stitch the coat. Ooh, I don't even know how this is gonna go. I may not do that ever. I don't know. But I refuse to top stitch with not brown thread because this coat is mostly brown. So, but right now we're rocking to the green thread and we'll just see how that goes. We don't have a lot of time until I run fully out of spoons, so. I think we're getting close to being done with the coat. All that's left is to sew on the waistband, sew on the collar, and then sew on the facing. Let's go ahead and do that. Okay, so I currently have, this is the neckline of the coat laid out, and you kind of attach the collar and the facing at the same time. So what I'm going to do is I'm going to choose which side, and I do think the vibes say that this side should be it. So what we're going to do is I'm going to literally fold the collar in half, find the middle point, stick a little pin in it, and then I'm going to find these two seams, match them up, find the center of the coat, and put a pin in that. And then I'm gonna match those two pins up. The collar does not reach all the way across. It's not supposed to, which is why I'm being very particular about finding the center of the coat and the collar, because I wanna make sure that it's centered when I actually go to stitch it. And then I'm just catching both ends of the collar, so both the inner layer and the outer layer, and making sure that they are lining up nice with the coat. And then we're just gonna pin this along. And then the instructions say not to sew it, to just pin it and then you pin the facing on. But because this is so much fabric, like this is a liner, the outer, and then 3 layers for the collar because the 2 layers and then the inner facing, I'm gonna go ahead and baste it and then we'll get to the facing. Okay, I just went ahead and basted it on, just a super long stitch just to make sure that it stays in place. And so this is kind of what it's looking like. And now to finish off this raw edge, we're gonna sew on the facing. I know my head's cut off, but I figured it'd be better for you to see my hands than my face right now. So this is the facing. The side that you're gonna be stitching on is the not serged edge. So since this edge has been zigzagged, I'm gonna be stitching on the other edge. There's these 2 seams right here, and they are going to match up with the seams of the coat. So like here's 1, here's 2. So we're gonna start by pinning them in line, and then you take them down. This corner of the facing matches up with the corner of the coat, and you kind of just wanna put it all in its place. We are going to just pin all of it, and then we're gonna stitch all of it, and then we need to flip it. But that's basically, I forgot about the sleeves. I still have to do sleeves. Okay, I'm just being a baby. Sleeves don't take that long. I just hate sleeves. Let's go ahead and pin this and then we're gonna sew it. Okay, I just tried on the coat and it fits pretty good. I need to still hem the sleeves, but we've now reached the point where I need to top stitch on the facing to like make sure it stays in place. And I cannot do that without brown thread. So tomorrow morning, I'm gonna go get some brown thread and then top stitch. I think I've got a little bit more off camera work and then I'll show you the reveal. Here we are. It's so cute. I love it. Overall, the pattern was super easy to use. It was very descriptive, and I think the creator did a fantastic job. She has a very, very detailed YouTube video on how to make the coat that I will link below, so feel free to go check it out. The actual craftsmanship of the coat there's another thing. There's a couple of small things that I definitely feel like I need to fix, or I just need to, like, get over. Let's go through them. First up, on the inside of the coat, we still have the facing, and it kind of is freeform right now. So I need to go through and hand stitch it down just to make sure that, like, it's not coming out and saying hello. So that's number one. Number two is the sleeves. I don't know what happened with the sleeves, to be honest. I cut them out using the same pattern piece, and yet they came out completely different sizes. So the lining fabric was way larger than the inner fabric. So we now have a lovely little crease inside both sleeves because I was not about to go back and fix it. I guess I could have gathered it or something, but yeah, I was lazy and I just made a dart of some sorts, I guess. I don't know if I'm gonna go back and fix that because it functionally works and I may just call that good enough. And then there's two more things. The next thing is that, where is it? I sewed on the facing and then I went around and did another top stitch about 1/2 inch away from the original stitch. And when I was doing the back of the coat, for some reason it like got caught weird, and so I ended up having to seam rip it. So there's now like some gappage where there isn't any thread there because it like got all bunched up. So I do need to go back and fix that. And then lastly, I really want to put the snaps on here. I do have some snaps. I just ran out of time to do it during this video because I am so overwhelmed with school. So I'm definitely going to go back and put the snaps on. I don't think it's going to be a full YouTube video, but I am going to film it, and I think I'm going to turn it into a short, maybe here on YouTube, and then I might turn it into like a reel for Instagram. So if you're not following me on Instagram, it's The Craft Companion with periods between. Feel free to check me out. I am a hoot and a half over there. Overall, I do really, really love the shape of the coat. I love that it's warm. I don't know the last time I did a lining. So I definitely had to figure a lot of it out and figure out like how to make them match up. But I think it worked out in the end. I really do think it worked. So I'm pretty overall satisfied, and I would rate this coat probably like a 7 out of 10. But it actively is snowing right outside my window. So I'm very glad that I have a coat for that. Thank you so much for watching this week's video. I know that I took a bit of a hiatus. To be honest, I was crashing out a little bit, but I'm back and I'm excited to be here. And I have a lot of really fun plans, and I will see you in 2 weeks, pinky swear, with another video. Bye.